Hey, what's up, guys? Houston here. Look, this is why LLCs and pass throughs is very dangerous, especially when you have partnerships with people in podcasting and things of that nature, okay? And more likely, I don't know how the companies register, or even if their podcast is registered. But this is very dangerous, and I'm gonna tell you why. But I want you to hear what the attorney has to say first.
Years, and it's the reason why you're successful. But you need to repeat those two words after me. So let's practice together right now. Ready? No.
No.
Comment.
Oh, comment. Okay. Okay.
No.
No.
Comment.
Comment. All right. All right.
Okay. So you got to learn to say that.
Wait.
And it's really unfortunate because I know you are dying to talk about many of the things, many of the counter narrative, the facts as opposed to the fictions, the way that things are weaponized and weaponized inappropriately, the massive holes in stories, that there's a lot to be discussed. But revenge is a dish best served cold.
Wait.
And right now,
Okay.
there are civil and criminal penalties for the kinds of behaviors that we're looking at right now. So I want you, as your counsel, and again, you're free to ignore my advice. Plenty of times people ignore my advice, and sometimes I'm grateful when they do it because it creates a lot more chaos, which makes me a lot more money. Peace does not make me any money. Chaos makes me money. But I'm telling you, my advice to you, and I've said this to you earlier privately, is there has to be, for the moment, no specific comment. There really has to be, because the level of issues that are being caused right now by a third party in terms of what they're exposing themselves to. There's an old saying, never interrupt the enemy when they're in the process of committing suicide. And this is a situation where you are, as much as I know, you are dying to get the counter narrative and the facts out there, the reality out there, as opposed to the garbage that's out there right now.
Yeah.
An intelligent, strategic, successful man knows that irrationality, impulsivity, and emotionalism are luxuries reserved for the ladies. They are not for an intelligent, strategic, thoughtful man who is making tactical moves on the advice of counsel. So that is my little rant. That is my little caveat. And I'm glad you gave me the chance to say it.
He said no comment. Here's the thing of why this is dangerous when you're working with a pass through LLC or something like that. Now, the attorney is not only addressing him, okay, because he's the one that created the situation, but his partner, Myron, he feels that he can talk about it. The reality of it, Myron running his mouth about this situation, and I'm telling you guys, if you don't believe me, go over to the lead attorney and you ask him, and I promise you 100% he's going to say the same thing as this attorney. And I'm not even an attorney, but I've been around attorneys long enough to know that, hey, what the liabilities are. Especially my take on it is because I work with different types of corporations. I work with celebrities. I work with, different types of people or whatever. But one of the things about it, in terms of, I'm addressing it because of the structure of how they're doing business. All right. Other than this, I wouldn't care what they say on their podcast. It has nothing to do with me. But when it comes to the business aspect, I'm trying to teach you all something why it's danger when you having a partnership and when a liability is actually created and how it can affect everybody. All right. So when the attorney says no comment, that means for everybody to shut up. And here's the reason why. This situation is so sensitive because this lady is allegedly pregnant by this gentleman, okay? If he doesn't say something, however, his partner comments on it and say that she goes through a stress moment, and she can say, hey, I lost the baby. Okay? If she says, hey, I lost the baby, guess what? She can also say, hey, it's because of their podcast I was stressed out and I lost my baby. Now, because of that, there can be not criminal. They can actually push criminal on this because of the information that they're saying. Granted, she's the one that put it out there. But because if they comment on it and they're the ones that she already addressed it with, he addressed it with her, and he's like, well, this is going back and forth. I don't care, I don't care about their conversation. Please understand that. But what I'm saying, because his partner feels that, hey, I can say whatever I want. Now, again, because his partner is associated with him, he can't say whatever he wants. And unfortunately, his partner is more likely going to feel that he has the right to bump his gums. But when you are in a partnership, and I promise you, go over to the lead attorney and ask him if he comments. And there's a liability created where this young lady says that, hey, I lost the baby because of him. Even if they don't get a DNA to prove that he was actually the father. Even if they don't get a DNA to prove that he's actually the father. Because the conversation came up between the two and he acknowledged that, hey, I tried to encourage you to take the pill. So he's assuming father responsibility. This is why the attorney said, no comment. Stop talking. But this guy here, he feels that he's privileged to talk about it because it's not his situation. But it doesn't work like that. Anybody involved with the association of this podcast, if they discuss this and she loses that baby, or she has to go to any type of duress, it's going to fall on the whole company. And I promise you, I'm not wrong. Take this over to the lead attorney. And ask him. This is very just basic logical things is why I tell people, if I were you, I would not work with a pass-through. Because it's so dangerous. I've seen so many people that have worked with partnerships, their LLCs and stuff like that, in partnerships where the partner went out and did something. And when they go out and do something, what ends up happening, that liability passes through to the whole company. Okay? Now, I even tried to look it out. You can't even find if the podcast is even registered or how YouTube is compensating them for the podcast or whatever it is they compensating a separate entity or whatever. Hopefully that YouTube is compensating a separate entity, and I hope it's not a pass-through. So that way when YouTube pays them or whatever platforms they're registered with pays them, is paid through a separate entity, and then they have their own separate entities that they're compensated. That way any type of liability can be separated. But what the situation is right here now, from what I've seen, and again, I tried to look it up, but I couldn't. But what it is now, with this situation, this gentleman right here feels that, hey, I'm not the one that created the situation. I'm not a part of the situation. I can talk about it. But the reality is, no, you can't. Because you're associated with the situation. All right? This is why pass-throughs and LLCs is very dangerous. And again, like I said, take it over to the lead attorney and you can ask him. I promise you, he's going to tell you the same thing. Even if this woman says, hey, I lost my baby because of you guys. Guess what? This can happen. Look, let me tell you something. I'll tell you a story, and the reason I know this shit is true. My cousin, right? My cousin was in an abusive relationship, okay? She was in an abusive relationship. So what ended up happening, her brother decided to take matters in his own hands. And so by him taking matters in his own hands and deciding to battle it out with the husband or whatever, well, guess what? My cousin, his sister, accused him because of that stress of her losing her baby. Guess what happened? My cousin went to jail. He did not touch his sister. He did not do, but because of the stress, she said, he is the cause of me losing my baby. My cousin went to jail for it. This is why I'm telling you guys, you have to be very careful in your surroundings, with the people you associate with. A lot of people think, oh yeah, I'm getting this money with this or that, especially with these podcasts. Because if you're talking about doing podcasts with these people or whatever, you never know what they're going to do. I'll tell you something else that people don't know. Say that one of those associates' family members goes out and do something. Their kid goes out and do something, okay? So their kid comes up being sued. So then it falls back on the parent, right? So then because it falls back on the parent, guess what? It's going to pass through the company. Because the company is the one that's being associated. Not because the company created the liability, it's because of the structure of the company, and because when they sue this individual, okay, any assets that are exposed, open, even if it's a liability, a LLC, and I'm telling you, you need to check this out on your own, that they will end up having liability on the company, and the company had nothing to do with it. I'm telling you guys, please, when you are talking about partnerships with people, make sure that you are properly understood, properly structured. This is the reason why when people come to me and say, hey, we talking about forming a partnership, and I tell them, hey, you create a parent company and you create two separate companies. So that way, any type of liability is created, make sure that that's their problem, not yours. Okay? So that way, your side of the business is not affected. But again, with situations like this, because this gentleman feels that he has the right to talk about this is going to get very ugly, and it can get real bad. So in terms of what that attorney said, no comment, he means no comment for everybody involved. Nobody should be talking about this. Let that lady say what she wants to say. All she won't, do not respond with text, emails, phone conversation, nothing. This is, and like I said, I'm not even in this space, but it's just because of the business aspect of it that I'm speaking from. All right. So I hope that this here sends a message to you people that assume you should be creating a partnership with people, because again, the liability is bigger than what you think when you think, oh, they won't do that to me. Yes, they will. All right. It's not if, it's when. And it will happen. So please be careful.